Hey guys, it's Deen. If you spent a good amount of your time growing up playing Nintendo 64, GameCube, Wii, or any combination of the three, then you're likely to have uttered the phrase Mario Party blank is the best Mario Party at some point in your life. Between 1998 and 2007, Hudson Soft developed the first 8 console Mario Party games, as well as the Game Boy Advance and Nintendo DS handheld Mario parties. So regardless of when you were initiated, realistically speaking, at some point you were definitely introduced to one of Nintendo's most popular series. My introduction started with the first Mario Party game, when my siblings and I decided to rent it from Blockbuster during one of our many family trips to the old rental store. The funny thing is, we didn't even know what a Mario Party was. We just knew that Mario was Nintendo and multiplayer Mario games were always fun. And I imagine that was exactly what Nintendo was hoping for when they released the first game. Regardless of the genre, Nintendo have always found success by using their star IP and his supporting cast to sell an idea. Mario Kart wouldn't be as popular today if the first game was simply titled Super Kart Racer and contained generic characters. The same could be said about Super Smash Bros. Series, as well as the Mario Sports titles. Splashing Mario's face at the forefront of all of these video games was how Nintendo managed to achieve success in so many different types of multiplayer games, and Mario Party was no stranger to this success. Having played through every Mario Party game growing up, I wanted to tackle the series and give it a proper retrospective. Not because I feel that I could give a fresh take on the series, but because I genuinely enjoy it and love the idea of playing through all the games and sharing my thoughts and opinions on them. My initial plan was to create 2 or 3 videos that would cover the entire series, but after playing for hours with friends and family over the past couple of months to capture game footage and collect my thoughts, I still haven't even made it out of Nintendo 64 games yet. The reality is that although you could group all Mario Parties together into one overarching generic review or retrospective, anybody who is interested enough to watch a YouTuber discuss Mario Party probably agrees with me when I say that every Mario Party game deserves its own analysis video. One final thing to point out before I get started is that I did my best to capture my footage and experience the series the way it was meant to, with families and friends at all different ages and Mario Party experience levels. There might be a few boards that include a CPU or two, but for the most part, I stuck to playing with actual human-controlled players while recording my footage and gathering my thoughts for this review. With that in mind, during these reviews, I likely won't speak too much about single-player content or CPU behavior or how to unlock various game modes or settings or boards. I will mostly just be analyzing each game board, discussing the minigames, and reviewing how fun of a multiplayer experience each game is. All that being said, let's party. Mario Party 1 is as basic as Mario Party gets. Everyone starts with 10 coins, stars cost 20 coins, the player with the most stars at the end of the predetermined number of turns wins, and if there's a tie for number of stars, the tiebreaker is the number of coins collected. Pretty straightforward objective. The mayhem comes from everything that can occur during each turn depending on which space a player lands on. The general rule is blue spaces give you 3 coins, red spaces make you lose 3 coins, happening spaces create a special event that is specific to each board, chance spaces take us to the famous chance time, minigame spaces allow you to have a go at a single player minigame, a mushroom space gives you a chance at a second roll or a loss of your next turn, the Bowser space triggers a roulette that at best does nothing and at worst will punish you or another player way more than it should, and the star space gives you a chance to pay 20 coins to buy a star. Furthermore, you can pass Boo to steal coins from a player of your choice for free, or pay 50 coins to steal a star from a player of your choice. And passing by Koopa will allow you to receive 10 coins for essentially finishing a lap in the circuit, while passing Bowser himself will generally cause you to lose a bunch of coins depending on the board. Assuming everything is unlocked, you have the option to turn Boo and Koopa off if you'd like. You also eventually unlock the option to turn a few items on. If turned on, these items all are completely random with no player control as to when and where they might occur. If the plus block appears while you're rolling a die, you'll gain the number of coins as the number you roll. Similarly, the minus block will make you lose that amount. The speed block gives you an 8 through 10 dice, and the slow block limits your roll to 1 through 3. The warp block will appear in lieu of your die, and you'll be forced to swap positions with another player at random. An event block will either summon Boo, Koopa Troopa, or Bowser. My preferred game style is to turn everything on except for the minus block, as I feel that Mario Party 1 specifically already does a good enough job at taking your coins away. You see, this specific Mario Party game likes to do this thing where it takes your coins away if you lose a minigame. And this can even occur if you land on a single player minigame space and are unsuccessful. It's actually pretty brutal. A Mario Party 1 game will either be 20, 35, or 50 turns long, and will give you 6 characters to choose from. 5 if you're playing with me since I get the big W. The characters don't have any special characteristics, stats, or dice blocks this early on in the series, so whom you choose is all aesthetic. Your turn order is decided by a dice roll where the highest roll goes first. As each player rolls, they'll land on a space that will highlight their profile a specific color. A blue, chance, minigame, or mushroom space will make you blue, a red or Bowser space will make you red, and the happening space will make you green. After all 4 players have made their turn, it's now time for a minigame. The colors everyone landed on determines the teams. If everyone is blue or red, then we have a 4-player minigame. If 2 are red and 2 are blue, then we have a 2v2 minigame. And if 1 player is red or 1 player is blue and the rest are the other color, then we have a 1 vs 3 minigame. Any player that is green will randomly be changed to blue or red, and then the teams will be decided. Minigames are then decided at random, and players earn their shot at winning coins with the possibility of losing them as well. I honestly have forgotten how brutal Mario Party was. The fact that minigames could make you lose coins means not only does your opponent get to gloat at their reward, but you're also miserable about your loss. There's a reason this game is more rage-inducing than other Mario Party titles. And I gotta say, I love it. The only Mario Party I have been playing for the past couple of years was Super on Switch, and that game was handing out coins just for high-fiving. Mario Party 1 is so evil it's actually refreshing. I can see why someone who mostly plays with younger children or non-seasoned gamers wouldn't enjoy it, as the cruel punishment system in Mario Party 1 will almost always guarantee the best player wins, but if you're playing this game with a group of individuals who are experienced and competitive Mario Party winners, this might actually be the most enjoyable Mario Party out there, if you're wearing a glove. Okay, I'll do this quickly because it's been covered a million times. Nintendo faced a lawsuit because of kids getting blisters during joystick spinning minigames that resulted in them sending gloves to people who could prove they purchased a copy of this game. Also, if you're super competitive, careless, those minigames could wreck your controllers. But to be honest, I think it was blown way out of proportion. First of all, I've developed calluses on my palm that allow me to touch fire, so thank you Nintendo. And second of all, there are only like 5 minigames that require spinning the joystick, and I'd argue that only one legitimately ruins the game depending on how competitive you are. Obviously, I can only say that now as an adult that is analyzing this game, so I can see why children in the late 90s might not share the same sentiment, especially if they were trying to beat CPUs instead of human-controlled players. This game can still very much be enjoyed despite spinning joystick minigames, but you'd have to have an understanding with everyone in the room, which in Mario Party is way easier said than done. But in any case, I'll start with the least offensive game and work my way up. Castaway's reeling doesn't need to be spun around that fast, and as long as you and your house guests agree to take it easy on the controller, nobody should need to overdo it while spinning, and definitely shouldn't need anyone to spin with their palm. Furthermore, Castaways is the only 4-player minigame that entails spinning a joystick, and 4-player minigames occur significantly more than 2v2 or 1v3, so this is the most likely spinning minigame you'll face if you face any at all. Similarly, if you agree as a group not to use palms and destroy your controllers, Deepsea Divers can be enjoyed without the teammate reeling their partner in with their palm. The game I would place in third when it comes to ruining the experience is Pedal Power. This game is definitely dangerous, but if you set the house rules so that the player who lands on the space takes an L, it's only a 5-coin loss and nobody will hurt their palm or their controller. The second worst game on this list would be the 1vs3 Paddle Battle. Look, I consider myself a good joystick spinner. I've many a time in the past have willingly torn my skin for the sake of competition. But oh my god, if you're playing Paddle Battle in a group of similarly skilled individuals, you stand no chance if you're alone against the 3. You're basically just spinning the joystick as fast as possible for damage control purposes, so you don't lose as many coins. If this minigame only rewarded the winner rather than also punishing the loser, I'd say the best thing to do is simply let the team of 3 get some easy pokes in and take the L, because you stand no chance anyway. But since there's a possibility to either lose a few coins or a whole ton of coins, you'd have to make a rule as a group for this minigame. Either everyone takes it easy and the lone player faces an agreed number of hits, or a rule that everyone spins only using their thumb, without overdoing it. I'm not really sure, it'll depend on the group you're playing with. Aside from Pedal Power, all of these games could technically be agreed to end in a draw if the group decides, but I don't think it's necessary, and you can still somewhat enjoy the minigames or come out with a fair result if you get some ground rules in. However, Tug of War I would consider the worst offender, and should definitely be agreed to end as a draw. Since not only is this minigame as bad as Paddle Battle when it comes to competitive spinning, but it's also equally likely for either the 1 or the 3 to win. So I'd say this is the only spinning joystick game that could actually ruin the game, since I think with some rules in place, the other 4 minigames can reach a fair result without forcing everyone to go wild, assuming you don't want this one to end in a draw. To summarize, these are the rules I recommend, but obviously you can decide whatever you'd like with your group. In Castaways, you only spin with your thumbs. In Deepsea Divers, you also only spin with your thumbs. If a player lands on Pedal Power, they treat it as a lose 5 coin space and put the controller down. If the group gets Paddle Battle, the one player treats it as a loss and gets poked a few times to give everyone else 2 coins each and take the -6. If Tug of War is picked, then the round must end in a draw. Alternatively, if you wear gloves or don't care about blisters or don't really care about potentially destroying your controllers, you can disregard everything I've said for the past few minutes and just play the game. Or if you're the opposite, you can just agree that all these games end as a draw. It's really up to your group and it's contingent on whether or not you're playing with CPUs obviously, but I'm done speaking about why this game physically hurts. As the game continues on and the final 5 turns are reached, blue and red spaces will be worth double, so either you gain 6 coins or you lose 6 coins, respectively. And passing by Koopa will now be worth 20 coins instead of the initial 10. Koopa will also make a prediction on who the winner will be, but I'm pretty sure in the first Mario Party it's just a random pick and doesn't reflect the stats or offer anybody any coins or advantages. And finally at the very end of the game there will be 3 bonus stars awarded. The first is the Game Star, which awards a star to the individual who won the most coins in minigames. Keep in mind that coins you've lost in minigames subtracts from that total. This star actually leads to one of my critiques for this game. There are a few ridiculously unbalanced minigames that completely favor one player over the others, or completely screw over one player over the others. And those minigames can lead to someone gaining or losing more than 30 coins. which basically means that being lucky enough to land on a certain single player minigame or a handful of 1 vs 3 minigames could essentially decide whether or not you'll win the minigame star. It's not enough of a critique to ruin the experience, and it definitely doesn't guarantee victory, but it's enough where it's not uncommon to know who's going to win the minigame star well before the game is halfway done. The second bonus star is the coin star. This is awarded to whoever held the most coins at any one point during the game. I like this star because it allows you to strategically think about whether it might be worth it or not to spend coins during the game. Hoarding coins might actually give you the bonus star that yields you a victory. The third and final bonus star is the happening star. So, it had been many years since I played Nintendo 64 and GameCube Mario Party titles. I actually forgot that the happening star was a staple in the earlier titles. At first, I didn't like it. My opponents and I were talking about how it would be more fun to find out what the final bonus star would be at the end, rather than knowing it beforehand. But I gotta say, it actually grew on me. It added a whole other tactic to your moves. If you keep a mental tally of who has landed on the most happening spaces throughout the game, you can strategically use it to your advantage in certain situations. Before we get to the boards, I wanted to touch on a few spaces that I mentioned earlier. Chance time is one of the best things about Mario Party. I love its iteration in this game, and if I had it my way, this is exactly how it would have been implemented throughout the entire series. I love the mayhem it could cause, whether it's giving someone the win or accidentally sending you from first place to last place. Whatever the case is, those first few moments when the block starts spinning are always the most anxiety inducing. The mushroom space is neat, but I always felt losing a turn was too harsh a penalty. If it at least gave you the option of whether you wanted to roll for the mushroom or not, I think it'd be more fair. But I guess it does add an interesting dynamic to Mario Party 1, and I did say this game was brutal. Also, minigame spaces that give you a one-player minigame are pretty cool. I know people like to complain about them slowing down the game and like to claim that nobody wants to watch someone else play a minigame, but I disagree. Even if they draw an easy minigame, they still have the chance to screw up and crack under pressure, especially when spectators can try and psych them out or distract them. The only critiques I have against them are balancing when it comes to how many coins a player could gain from them. But I'll discuss that more when I cover the minigames. And the other issue I have is that they are counted towards the minigame bonus star, which I think is unfair since that bonus star should only consider minigames that everyone is participating in. But aside from those critiques, I enjoy the minigame spaces. Lastly, I wanted to discuss the Bowser spaces, which are not to be confused with passing the actual Bowser character. Bowser spacers trigger Bowser Roulette, which will either take coins from the player that landed on it, put everyone through a minigame in which the losers will have to pay Bowser money, take everyone's coins and redistribute them evenly, force the player to participate in a chance time where the receiving party is automatically Bowser, or if you're lucky, land on an event that lets you go without being punished. I'm a fan of these Bowser spaces as I feel they tend to create a lot of memorable moments. Okay, I think it's finally time to talk about the boards. In my opinion, boards are the main factor that decide how good a Mario Party game is. The reality is the minigames are almost always a hit. I've had fun in every Mario Party game by just going through the minigame list and playing through them with friends. Sure, some of the minigames will get skipped, but there are always enough to have a blast for hours. On the other hand, Mario Party games on average tend to have 5 boards. You need a good amount of them to be a hit with your multiplayer crew if you're going to continue playing the board game. Luckily for us, Nintendo started out with a blast, and the first game had the most boards, coming in at 8. So even though I never play 3 of them, there's still 5 completely viable and solid boards I wouldn't mind playing. Let's start with DK's Jungle Adventure. This board for me is what Mario Party is all about. There's no coincidence that's the first option available when you boot up the game. It basically embodies what a traditional Mario Party board is supposed to represent. It looks like a proper board game and is big enough with multiple junctions, route options, and shortcuts. It's not too big that in a 20-turn game there would be locations nobody might visit. There aren't too many randomized moments that would take away your chance to strategize, and it's a very straightforward board that would make it easy to play this game with basically anybody who has never played Mario Party before. It's a great starting point if you barely play Mario Party 1, it's an excellent choice for a board to return to when you do get a chance to play. The main gimmicks are these womps that move back and forth every time they're passed, or you can pay them 10 coins to move so you can pass through. There are also happening spaces that cause a boulder to roll and move everyone in its path to a single space on the board, and there are these walls that require you to have 20 coins just to pass them. Something to note is that at the start there are no chance time spaces, but every time someone buys a star and the star moves over to the next location, the previous location becomes a chance time space. The punishment for passing Bowser on this board is 10 coins, so if the star ends up just beyond him, you essentially have to pay 30 coins for the star. And there are 2 boos on this level, so there are lots of chances to steal coins or stars from your opponents. All in all, I'd say this stage does a good job at creating a game that contains plenty of unique events so that you wouldn't need to rely on minigames to have fun. Unlike Peach's Castle, which I'd argue is a board only to play if you want something to do in between minigames. I know that might be a bit harsh, but I remember disliking this board as a kid, and even coming back to it after all these years I still don't enjoy it. It's linear, and the whole thing where you purchase a plant for 30 coins in hopes that someone lands on it so you can steal a star from them is very expensive and barely works. I do like the idea that you have a 25% chance of getting turned away from the star and sent to Bowser instead, and if you pick the right colored seed, the next player only has a 1 in 3 chance of getting turned away, while the third player would be 50-50. which ultimately means the fourth player to pass this point will automatically go to Bowser if nobody else before him picked the wrong seed. Aside from the seed planting gimmick though, the board just feels uneventful. And even getting through it this time around with my niece and nephew, we found ourselves just kind of going through the motions to finish off enough footage. The only way I could see this board maybe being a bit more enjoyable is during a 50-turn game, since more people can purchase and land on happening spaces, causing a higher chance of stars to be stolen from one another. But even then, I don't know that I'd enjoy it as much as the other boards. For example, Yoshi's Tropical Island can be enjoyed no matter how many turns you play. It's a simple board with a very enjoyable gimmick and is often seen as a favorite in the Mario Party fandom. This board consists of 2 circular islands with 2 one-way bridges between them. During the game, Bowser and Toad will be in designated locations on opposite islands and frequently swap spots between the 2 of them, but so will landing on the happening space. The only way to move between the 2 islands is to cross the bridge. The bridges are guarded by thwomps that charge at least 1 coin to pass. However, there's a little bit of strategy here in that you can choose to pay more coins, which would then force the next player to pay at minimum what you paid plus 1. Each thwomp has their own price though, so later on in the game it might be easier to move across the bridge in one direction rather than the other. This adds a really fun dynamic because you can essentially price out your opponents from leaving the island if they're not doing well in collecting coins. They'll basically be stuck circling around towards Bowser unless someone else gets or lands on a happening space so he can switch spots with Toad. Keep in mind, passing Bowser will automatically see you lose 13 coins. So essentially this board is super hectic and hard to strategize where the star will be. But there's still skill involved when you consider the prices you can set the bridge crossing to. There's a bit of an issue on this board that if you take an early lead with coins and your opponent can't cross the bridge, it could be much harder for other players to catch up to you unless they land on a chance time or boost space at the right time. It's still a really fun board to play whether you're winning or losing, especially since at any point in time someone can land on a happening space and completely ruin your game plan. But if you don't like having a game plan, then just play Wario's Battle Canyon. You can't strategize here at all. It's very luck based and quite frankly not enjoyable since all of the control of where you're going is completely out of your hands. You can supposedly pick where the cannon will shoot you to, but it's moving so fast that neither my opponents nor I could land where we wanted to. There's a flag eye on one platform that you can pay 10 coins to either move you to the middle platform which contains Bowser, minigame spaces, and potentially a star, or you can pay 10 coins to have flag eye bring an opponent to your location. That's really the only interesting aspect of this board in my opinion. Needless to say, this stage is generally skipped over with my circle of friends. Luigi's Engine Room is a board that isn't usually skipped over, however. This is the 5th board in the game and the 3rd one that I'd consider worth playing. The simplest way to explain it is it's a bit more complex and hectic than DK's Jungle Adventure. The gimmick is primarily these red and blue doors that take turns blocking paths at the beginning of every turn, through a happening space, or if someone pays a robot 20 coins to switch them. For this reason, you can find some branched routes that basically allow you to stall before reaching a junction and being forced to pass through a door you rather not pass. There are also war pipes all over the board that send you to the top right corner, which would allow you to pass Boo before getting back to the start of the map. In fact, this is probably my only issue with this board. Due to how complex it is and the fact that all these war pipes take you to the same spot, you can easily go a 20-turn game while completely missing out on certain areas of the board, and I consider that a flaw. This might be more enjoyable for 35 or 50 turn games, but it's still a good board overall and one that I don't mind revisiting. Similarly, while it may not be my favorite, Mario's Rainbow Castle is an interesting enough stage that anyone could enjoy it. It's a straight circuit with small branching paths that allow you to stall before you reach the end of a lap. You'll want to stall sometimes because at the end of the lap is where you can either buy a star or pass Bowser and lose 40 coins by purchasing a Czar. That's right, the T is silent. Look it up. Bowser and Toad will rotate every time a player passes them or when someone lands on happening spaces. So you have to be very careful about how quickly or slowly you move through this board by carefully planning your routes at each junction. Between this board gimmick and the Boo and Chance Time locations, this is both a very punishable and very enjoyable board once you get the hang of it. Mario Party 1 and Brutality, man, name a better duo. So far that's 6 boards we've covered, and I'd say 4 of them are worth playing. The last one that is worth playing is Bowser's Magma Mountain. Once again, the path is fairly linear, but at a few points throughout the board you can pay 10 coins to essentially flip a coin, and if you're successful, take a shortcut. The catch is, if you fail, you're out 10 coins and forced to continue on your trajectory. You'll need to strategize whether or not it's worth the risk to take a shortcut depending on where the star is currently sitting and where your opponents might be. There is one junction that is a free coin flip, and you're required to take it. If you're successful, you'll get to go to Boo. If you fail, you'll be forced to head to Bowser, where another coin flip will determine whether he steals 20 coins from you or if he'll steal a star from you. You can avoid the whole junction, however, if you're lucky with another coin flip. Lots of coin flips in this level. I'm not even sure why I'm calling it a coin flip. It's a 50-50 dice. You get the point. Chance Time on this map only shows up when Toad moves, so after the first star is purchased, the board opens up a bit. The happening spaces in this level are wild too. When it's landed on, Bowser's Mountain erupts and covers the board in red spaces where they'll remain there for 2 turns. Okay, I'll be straight up, this board is actually ruthless. The only reason it's enjoyable is because you and everyone you're playing with is also taking a beating from the board. There's still strategy involved and a lot of luck is required to succeed, but it's enjoyable nonetheless. This is Mario Party after all, and when done right, the combination of skill and luck is what makes for a good Mario Party board. When done right. Eternal Star is not done right. Roll some dice, pick a direction, hope it takes you to the warp that you want to go to, rinse and repeat. The gimmick is too confusing for general gameplay. It'll often lead to players frequently going to the exact same paths over and over again until they're inevitably forced back to the beginning of the board when one of the happening spaces are stepped on. Passing Bowser, if you can find a way to reach him, will allow him to either steal a star from you or 20 coins if you don't have a star. And then he'll change the paths of the warps in the game, so you'll have to relearn everything all over again. Furthermore, stars are spread all over the map rather than all being in one place, and I don't necessarily think it's a good idea. I feel like there are some tweaks they could have made to the stage to make it more enjoyable, but as it stands, it's probably my least favorite board in Mario Party 1. So yeah, it seems with the 8 boards, I enjoy DK's, Yoshi's, Luigi's, Mario's, and Bowser's. I avoid Peach's, Wario's, and Eternal Star. That's 5 whole boards that are worth playing in my opinion, which might be the most out of any Mario Party game. Mario Party 1 is honestly shaping up to be much higher on my list than I anticipated it would be, but I still have so many more Mario Party games to run through before I can figure that out. Plus, I haven't even gone through the minigames yet. In my opinion, all of the 4-player minigames are at least a 7 out of 10, except for the ones that involve working together, those being Running of the Bulb and Keep Away. I don't see a point to games in which you work together in Mario Party. Aside from that, there's a good pool of 4-player minigames to choose from during every roulette. I have slight criticisms towards Buried Treasure since it could be very luck-based at times, Hop Bomb which could be very easily exploitable, Platform Pearl, while awesome, could vary largely depending on your starting position, and finally, Bumper Balls is super fun, but I hate that it ends in a 4-way draw way too often. My only complaint for the 2v2 minigames would be that Bombskip Ball completely favors the team that starts with the ball. Aside from that, it's a bit disappointing that there are only 5 2v2 minigames, but to be honest, the vast majority of rounds end with a 4-player or 1 vs 3 minigame, so it makes sense. Oh boy, 1 vs 3 minigames. The hardest ones to balance. Bashing Cash is horrible in that it absolutely punishes the 1. Their best result is hoping to only lose 5 coins. I can see it being a punishment for landing on a Bowser space, but the fact that it's actually in the regular 1 vs 3 roulette is mind-boggling. Tightrope Treachery largely favors the 1. I've only seen the 3 win one time while capturing footage for this, and I'm pretty sure it's because the 1 was testing out how close they could stand to the edge of the rope. Paddle Battle will not only rip a hole in your palm but largely favors the team of 3, while Coin Shower Flower not only guarantees the 1 victory, but also puts them in a very good position to win the minigame bonus star. That leaves Pipe Maze, Bowlover, Coin Block Bash, Crane Game, Piranha's Pursuit, and Tug of War as the only viable 1 vs 3 minigames. Pipe Maze isn't even really a 1 vs 3 minigame, and Tug of War will rip a hole in your palm unless you agree to end in a draw. So that's basically 4 out of 10 1v3s that I would argue are just good or good enough at best, which is unacceptable in my opinion. And I think this is largely where Mario Party 1 shows signs of failure, since 1 vs 3 minigames are fairly common. The 1-player minigames range in difficulty, and I'd be okay with them if their rewards were capped at 10 coins while their punishment is capped at -5. Actually, really the only 2 games I'd say that don't meet the good enough threshold are Pedal Power because of the blisters, and Whack-A-Plant because, similar to Coin Shower Flower, landing on this minigame can put you in a very good position for the minigame star. So in a nutshell, that's Mario Party 1. I honestly didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did, but I'm not sure why I'm so surprised that I had a blast with it. Maybe it's seeing so many negative comments about it over the years. People saying the joystick minigames ruined their controllers and made the game unplayable, and my memory of having a blistering hand as a kid blowing my own opinion out of proportion. I'm not sure. What I did find here was a Mario Party that I can see myself revisiting often. 5 solid boards and more than enough minigames to keep me entertained. When you consider that chance determines which minigames are played, it covers a lot of the cracks for the minigames I criticized. Similarly, when you get absolutely pummeled by something that's out of your control. Or work very hard in a minigame only to end in a meaningless draw. Or find yourself as a sole loser in a game that doesn't even end up rewarding the winners. It's all a matter of chance at the end of the day, and that's what makes Mario Party so fun. It's the rage-inducing, borderline violent experience you go through by getting through the game with your friends and family, or even with CPU if that's what you enjoy. I love seeing someone I'm playing with lose their coins almost as much as I love seeing my counter go up. Mario Party 1 provides both of those feelings in one game and sometimes at the exact same time. This game is great. I may have never owned it as a kid, but I did rent it and I played it a lot at my friend's house. The next game, however, is the first Mario Party title I officially owned. Nostalgia tells me it's my favorite, but I'm not even sure if I'm going to still enjoy it more than Mario Party 1. I guess we'll find out when I upload my next video. If you haven't already, subscribe and hit the notification button so you can enjoy the next video when I've uploaded it. Thanks for watching. Deen, out.